Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Saab.
Walaikum
Dr.
salam.
Saab, in a recent interview, uh, a question was asked to Ramdi Saab that if a woman could be imam, could be appointed as
Hmm.
an imam, and Ramdi Saab's response was that there is no restriction in Quran or Sunnah to this effect. So
Hmm.
it can be done.
Hmm.
Uh, so my question is that, is it enough for something to be permissible, just not being restricted in Quran or Sunnah, uh, to be permissible?
Yes, of course. I mean, in the case of normal social matters, unless something is stopped or unless there is a principle which stops it, I mean, you can stop a thing by pointing it out per se, or you can point it out a certain principle, and if that things fall under the ambit of that principle, you can say it is forbidden. And unless that is expressly done, especially in the case of worship rituals, we don't have. We just cannot go beyond that. Yes, of course, if someone says that, well, we have been asked to pray 5 prayers or offer 5 prayers, why don't we add some 2 extra prayers? Now this is something a person is doing by adding something to religions, and that is totally different. But when a person is conducting something which is part of religion, I mean, the woman is not going to conduct or offer an extra prayer. She's just going to be part of the same system that has been given. The only thing is the gender that we are commonly ascribed to such rituals has a change in it. So, had there been some restriction in it, there would definitely have been a positively expressed, I would say, directive in the Quran or in the Sunnah that would have given us this idea that the leaders of all worship rituals must be men. And another thing that I'd like to point out here is that, you see, something which is allowed and something which is socially acceptable, these are two different things. So there are things which might be allowed, but they are not socially acceptable. So that also has some very powerful value. I mean, I can say that the Sharia does not stop it. Does not stop women to lead the prayers or to deliver the sermon, etc. But will that be socially acceptable to Muslims or the Muslim mindset? Obviously, we know that the answer would be in the negative. So the thing is that we must appreciate this part, that yes, if someone leads the prayer and she is a woman, as we know that there have been instances in which there are mosques in the US, specifically one of them, in which a lady was the imam and she led the prayer, and there were men and women both standing behind her. So as far as the Sharia is concerned, we are absolutely fine that she did nothing wrong. And people who were praying behind her, they accepted her as the imam. However, this is something which the greater Muslim community would perhaps not accept. So wherever this is not acceptable, it should not be done, because social acceptability is also something which is important. However, whenever it becomes socially acceptable, we can do it. So the Sharia does not stop it. It is the norms of the society that at times hinder it. So wherever those norms do not hinder it, if it is carried out, you would be doing something which is not against religion.
Doctor, my confusion on the matter was that on the same principle that something is not explicitly permissible, Ramdi Sahib declares the whole Sufi tradition as parallel religion. At the same time,
No,
the
that
same
is a. I
argument
mean,
is
let me
made by
just
the Muslim.
correct you here. That is not the reason. Is not what you've just said. The reason is that whatever the Sufis say is against the Quran. I mean, the reason there is that the Tawheed that they express is not the one which the Quran says. The Nabuwwat concept or the prophethood concept that they present is not what the Quran says. The concept of the hereafter, which the Quran says, they don't accept that. So you see, Tasawwuf or Sufism is something which is, when he says that it's a parallel religion, it is parallel because it goes against all the basic tenets and precepts of Islam.
Understood. And Dr. Sahib, also comment on Barelvi scholars. I mean, the other day somebody was asking them that, some of the practices that they do, where are they allowed? And he said, okay, show me where are they prohibited.
Okay, so
So,
that is something that has to be understood. You see, religious innovation, which is called bid'at, is something when you add something to the quantity, to the corpus of religion, and the thing which is added itself is religious. This is precisely what we call as a bid'at, or a religious or an act of religious innovation, and that is something which is prohibited. So if the Barelvis, they call out the azan, they say the rood before they call out the azan, or they do certain other things, because what they are doing is of religious nature. So saying that the rood is of the nature of religion, I mean, it is something that you can call to be religious, in inverted commas. So now they are adding a religious practice to the content of religion, and they are saying that this is something that should be done. And precisely this is what we call as bid'at, or innovation in religion, and that has to be avoided.
But Dr. Sahib, in itself, for example, let's say praying durood before azan. I mean, praying durood is okay, azan is okay. If they just do durood before azan, I mean, for some reason, I'm getting that Ramdi
See,
Sahib
what
is
they are
also.
saying is, they're not saying that this is what they are doing. It is something which is part of religion. They say that unless you say the rood, you should not say the azan, because this is the proper way of declaring the azan, that you need to do it. So they make it a condition. It is here that we say, well, occasionally if you read the durood, you can read it anytime. You can read it before the azan, after the azan, left, right, center. But when you say that this is a practice that has to be carried out at all cost, this is what makes it a bidat.